Which glasses look the coolest? And which glasses should you avoid at all costs? Welcome to the Glasses Style Tier List, where I'm going to be advising you which brands to look for if you want to look your best. So hi, I'm Robert, Style and Vision Consultant here at the Spectacle Factory, and it's my job to pair you with your perfect pair of glasses. And the place to start is by identifying which brands you want to narrow your search down to. In this video, we're going to be looking through pretty much all of the world's top eyewear brands, and I'm going to be rating them purely in terms of style. Usually we consider other factors like comfort and durability. Today, all of that goes out the window. It's just about how cool they are. So I've come up with 5 categories, and we're going to be finding out where these brands fall. Let's start somewhere in the middle. Portrait. In my opinion, a very underrated Italian eyewear brand. They make frames inspired by the art world, and therefore each creation of theirs is quite original and quite different, and I like that. That definitely gets style points from me. They're not only cool, I would describe them as actually awesome. They're definitely above average when it comes to style. Portrait is a really nice frame brand, not too expensive either. How about Silhouette? For me, one of the most uninspired frame brands. You can say what you want about Silhouette, they're not bad glasses, but they're definitely not anything exciting. And in terms of style, I mean, they've had the same aesthetic for more than 10 years now. Definitely not moving with the times, and I think Silhouette is a basic look. Not terrible, we're gonna go with basic. Lunar. So Lunar is a German eyewear brand. They make quite classic frame styles to a pretty high standard. They're good quality. I do recommend the brand in general, but from a style perspective, again, very uninteresting and unexciting, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but I just find their styles very, well, basic. Cazal. Okay, so Cazal is the first of the Luxottica brands, and you guys, if you've watched this channel before, you know Luxottica is not my favorite company in the world, but Cazal has a rich history that dates way back from before Luxottica owned them, and Cazal are like one of the defining iconic eyewear brands, I would say. And I still love their branding. Like, you can tell a Cazal frame, but it's not ostentatious. You know, I think they do, for the most part, look good. So I would say that Cazal are pretty cool, actually. Tavat. Now, this is quite an interesting one because Tavat are very interesting designs. Do I think they're particularly stylish? You know what, I don't. I mean, I would wear one, but would I say that they are like ultra cool? Probably not, but they are nice, you know, so I think they go in the cool tier. Quite an unknown eyewear brand that I do recommend. Oakley. Okay, here we go. Are you ready for a hot take? Oakley is a sports eyewear brand, and their sports glasses are pretty good. Wearing an Oakley frame as your daily glasses is the equivalent of wearing your gym clothes every day. Not only that, but there's something like overly masculine. Oakley kind of exudes that, doesn't it? It's overly masculine, overly aggressive. For me, that's my perception of the brand anyway. Is it how I would want to be perceived? No, I can't understand why people wear them as their daily glasses. As sports glasses, fair enough, but for me, it is one of the worst frame looks. So they definitely are the first entry into the trash tier, and I know that's going to upset a lot of people. Gast, on the other hand, for me, one of the coolest, most stylish eyewear brands ever. Ultra affordable, like, so they're like $150 to $200. And the thing is, you can not find more stylish frames, I'm trying to think, for less than $400. So there's no glasses within the $400 category for me that are more stylish than Gast. And a lot of frames that cost a lot more than that are still not as cool as Gast. Like, every frame style from Gast is perfect in terms of aesthetics. Yes, it requires a bit of confidence because they're a bold look, you know, they're a chunky acetate, but at the same time, there are no embellishments, so they're not over the top either. Matteo Gastaldo, who started the brand, he just nails eyewear style. I am a huge fan. The fact that they're a low price point is even more amazing. And then you have their rimless frames, which, again, for any money, you can't really get a significantly better rimless frame. So for me, instant iconic tier. Ivan, a Japanese eyewear brand, very high quality. Some of their styles are really cool. Some of the styles are quite plain, and that applies to pretty much every Japanese eyewear brand, so shouldn't be too critical because of that. You know, Japanese fashion is all about simplicity. That being said, I think Ivan frames are cool, but nothing more than that. Prada, the first of the fashion brands. So Prada is one of those brands that is licensed by Luxottica. If you're not familiar with Luxottica, please look them up. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent talking about them, but basically they make frames and print logos on the side. Luxottica does not own Prada, they just pay Prada for a license to put their logo on the side of frames. For me, wearing a logo on the side of your frame is the fashion equivalent of wearing a logo across your chest. And it doesn't matter what brand it is, whether it's Balenciaga, it doesn't matter how expensive it is. If you're putting someone's name across your t-shirt. I don't think that is style. That's the equivalent in the glasses world. So Prada is one of the worst offenders when it comes to that. For me, definitely trash. Modo. So Modo are really good value, mid-range frames, mostly made from titanium. And I think Modo are stylish. Like, I rated their crystal frame series earlier this year as the coolest crystal frames you can buy. So that's pretty high praise. I would say the collection as a whole would be in the cool tier, but if you're looking at those newer pieces that came out this year, and to be fair, you know, they deserve to be judged on what they're doing now and not just their back catalogue. I think Modo are awesome and another really good value eyewear brand. Oliver Peoples. So everything that I said earlier about Cazal, I think applies to Oliver Peoples. It's a brand with tremendous history. And you could make a case for them being in the awesome tier. I think you genuinely could, because their frame styles are pretty legendary. Things like the Gregory Peck. So I don't want to be too critical. I think they're definitely cool. And I think, you know, I could be tempted to put them in the awesome tier, but I think if you were looking for that vibe that Oliver Peoples do, I think in recent years, other brands like Barton Prera, for example, Masanaga have really superseded them, and I think I would place them higher. For cultural impact, Oliver Peoples would score much higher, but just as it stands now, I don't think they're more than just cool. Maybach. Now this is a really difficult one because for some people, Maybach epitomizes style. You know, they're flashy, they're extravagant, they're expensive, they're luxurious. And obviously for some people, that's what they equate with style, and I think there's an argument for that. I certainly don't think they're bad. I personally would choose Cartier if I was going for that look. I just think Cartier is more special, more iconic, more magical. Maybach is not bad, and if you customize one in the right way, it's definitely awesome. I think we can just about go with awesome in terms of Maybach. So Ace and Tate are like a B-Tech Warby Parker, and we're going to be getting to Warby Parker in a minute. Ace and Tate are their own brand with their own stores that make their own frames, and pretty good value. You know, I think they're decent. That said, you know, they're not at all innovative and the styles are very safe. I think they go in basic tier. They'd be towards the top of the basic tier. The brands that are going into that tier, I don't think are bad, but they're just not inspiring or there's no compelling reason to own them. LA Eyeworks. So, Guy Garardi, who founded LA Eyeworks, passed away sadly this year, and that was a huge loss to the eyewear industry. One of the most creative, original and innovative eyewear designers of all time, and her frames are beautiful. For the right person. They are quite flamboyant, they are quite colourful. That's not really my vibe, so I don't own an LA Eyeworks frame, but I'm a huge admirer of them. I think for that look, if you want that aesthetic, if you want a beautifully made acetate frame, it doesn't really get better than LA Eyeworks, so I think they go into the iconic tier. Anglo-American Optical, very historic British company who make very classic and safe frame styles. I think nothing epitomizes basic more than them, and they're great value, and I would recommend you buy them if you like that quintessential, gentlemanly British style. Just a level below Oliver Peoples, but they are less expensive, so. Jean-Paul Gaultier. So I've been waiting for the chance to talk about JPG on this channel. The problem is JPG are not making frames at the moment, but back in the 80s and 90s, they were the coolest. Now there's a huge scene of enthusiasts who are bringing those frames back, buying up vintage JPG glasses and customizing them with amazing tints. That's where it's at when it comes to style. That is what eyewear is about. Taking something that is like an iconic look, that's not necessarily like fashion of now, and rocking it and owning it and customizing it. For me, they're definitely top tier easily, and I'm really glad that I've got the chance to give them the praise that they deserve. Jean-Paul Gaultier, way ahead of his time. Kirk & Kirk. So I think there are a lot of people that would love Kirk & Kirk frames. They are the most colorful in the world. They make their frames from acrylic. They're like semi-translucent for the most part, and they're very brightly colored. I'm not a fan, but I can appreciate why some people would like it. I think they're kind of in the middle. I'm gonna go with cool. Tiffany, another Luxottica brand. It's licensed, very uninspiring, very boring, to be honest. Ladies styles. Mostly, you know, they're ugly. Even ignore the logo. I don't have more to say than that. Definitely trash. Blackfin. So they make minimalistic titanium frames. You know, recently they've been producing some cool styles. I have to give them credit. If you'd asked me this a year ago, they'd be instant basic tier. I think they make the step up into cool. True Vintage Revival. So this is a Korean brand that makes their frames in Japan. There are some TVR frames that are ultra stylish. I think they're definitely way above average, so they're gonna go into the awesome tier. I think they're a bit hit and miss. Not everything is so exciting, but there are some pieces, there are enough pieces in their collection that make me think, yeah, from a stylistic perspective, awesome. Maybe not as good quality as other Japanese eyewear brands, but we're not talking about quality. Basically, everything I said about Anglo-American Optical applies to Walter & Herbert. They're a bit more expensive, they're a bit better quality. The styles are so similar. I mean, British style is what it is, really. It's not anything that's gonna change the world, but it's classic, you know, simple, austere styling that actually, you know, for the right person, it's the perfect look. It's just, you can't really say that it's anything more than basic aesthetically. Coney. So Coney was founded by the people who left Dieter when Dieter was acquired by a private investment group. I love what Aconi are doing. I really love what they're doing. The embellishments and the design of their frames, they are very, very, very stylish. I've got a dilemma here. I think there's part of me that wants to put them in iconic. You know what? I think they deserve it. I think they deserve a place in iconic. I'm gonna put Aconi there. Yeah, I'm sticking with it. Industrial. Another difficult one. So industrial frames are produced by the Luca de Stijl workshop, and we're going to get to Luca de Stijl soon. It's one of my absolute favorite eyewear brands to talk about. We're going to get there. Industrial is the most stripped down, simplistic series that they produce, also like half the cost. They're made from surgical steel. They're very, very minimalistic, like almost to a futuristic degree. You hold an industrial frame and it's like wafer thin. But at the same time, they have this incredible gear shape patterning, which is stunning, and it makes the frames look so elevated and so beautiful. And I think if you want that look, if you want a minimalistic style, like a thin metal frame, there's no more stylish collection than industrial. Luca de Stijl absolutely smashed it. I remember in the summer 2 years ago, I visited Paris, I visited his workshop, and just as I was about to leave, I said, "What's that?" And he showed me, these are prototypes, and I knew he was onto a winner. Yeah, wearing an industrial frame myself, I always feel very cool in them, and yeah, they deserve to be an iconic. Moscot. I've criticized Moscot for their quality in recent years, being made in China. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with China, but Moscot specifically are not great quality, but they are cool. I think they go into the awesome tier. I think Moscot is one of the most stylish eyewear brands. Forget about everything else, you know, they have, the Lemtosh is one of the most iconic frame styles of all time, so you've got to give it to them. I think they belong in awesome. Flare. So if you want glasses which are invisible, Flare do it better than anybody else, literally. They invented rimless glasses, and they're still the pioneers, in my opinion, of rimless frames. In one way, it's a basic look, because the invisible look, it is basic, and I don't think it's particularly cool. I could even make a case that the style is in trash. I think that might be harsh, but I don't think they can really realistically go above basic, so we're gonna leave them there. Tom Ford, okay. The irony is that Tom Ford is probably the most, yeah, I mean, it is the most popular fashion brand in eyewear. And I guess you've got to give Tom Ford credit. Well, not that Tom Ford actually probably designs the frames, it's another licensed brand. Not to Luxottica, although Luxottica probably will be acquiring them soon, TBC. So, you know, from a success perspective, got to give Tom Ford credit. But from a style perspective, let me tell you, I have never seen a good looking Tom Ford frame. I don't think they look good, you know, regardless of the branding. But even if they were cool, the branding for me is horrific. Because not only do they have, you know, it's not like having a logo on the side of your glasses. They have this obnoxious T that actually comes around the front of the frames. So anyone you're talking to instantly knows you're wearing Tom Ford. And what I was saying about printing a logo on yourself, Tom Ford does it worse than anybody. So not only for me are they not cool glasses, but the branding is the worst. I wish there was a tier that I could put them in all of their own, but they're gonna go into the trash tier where they belong. Gucci, so Gucci just is plummeting recently in terms of style. I mean, we're a Gucci stockist, so I'm not biased in saying that. Having said that, you know, there are some cool pieces in the collection. There are some that I still think you should buy, so I think we'll leave them in basic. Bottega Veneta, on the other hand, absolutely on the up. For me, easily, comfortably the most cool fashion brand in eyewear. I love the fact that there's almost no branding on them. Bottega Veneta is like a brand that I love in general. Their leather goods are incredible. And yeah, I think their frames are beautiful. I'm hoping to talk more about them on the channel in the months to come because I really like what they're doing. Masunaga. So Masunaga is the most high quality brand in the world. They're the oldest factory in Japan. They have different collections. So they have the standard Masunaga line, which is quite understated for the most part. They have the Kenzo or K3 line where they partnered with Kenzo Takeda, the famous creator of the fashion brand Kenzo. And then last year they released the Master of Craft collection. Maybe the most stunning sunglasses ever made. So yeah, iconic. I mean, what am I doing? Masunaga is iconic stylistically. Their frames look beautiful, but they're also the best quality soap. Lindbergh. So again, you know, there are different levels of Lindbergh. You have their solid gold pieces, which are epic in a, you know, very quiet luxury way. And same is true with their buffalo horn pieces. But at the same time, their regular line is so painfully boring that really drags them down. I'm gonna say for the most part, they are basic, but if you can get a solid gold or a buffalo horn frame, they're bordering on awesome. Warby Parker, the very definition of cookie cutter glasses. If you want to blend in, if you want no one to ever notice your glasses, just go for a Warby Parker frame. I mean, yeah, that's about it. They're good value, but I've never seen a Warby Parker frame that I thought looked good. I'm gonna put them in trash. Chopard, let's be fair, basic styles that are quite beautiful if you're into crystals and things like that. Maybe that's harsh, but I think Chopard, they're not really stylish. But they are right for the right person. You know, if you like their look, their jewelry inspired look, I can see why you would like a Chopard frame. Hapta, well, they're a very Marmite brand. I've seen people think Hapta are just incredible, and I've seen people think they are horrendously ugly. I think that means we've got to balance them out in cool. Well, I do think they are cool, personally. I think they're cool. Some of their styles are very inventive. They're also kind of vintage inspired, based on like old mountaineering goggles. I like that. I would wear a Hapta frame. In fact, I'd love to have a Hapta frame, and I like their use of materials as well, so they're cool. Jimmy Choo, trash tier for the same reason as all the other fashion brands. Let's not dwell on them too long. T. Henry, okay, if you like extravagant glasses, if you want glasses that are just like super opulent, then T. Henry is probably the brand to look for more than any other. I can't think of anything more opulent than a T. Henry frame. I like restraint when it comes to style. I don't want my glasses to be the first thing people see when I walk into a room. I think that's too much personally. I want to look good when people notice me. Having said that, for the aesthetic they have, yeah, they're gonna go in cool. I can't put them in awesome. I just think they're a bit too much for me. Anna Valletan, beautiful glasses, truly beautiful glasses, and you know, creative and very French, and I think they're awesome. I think we can put Anna Valletan in awesome. Esmont, so this is a brand that's very close to my heart. They're a new brand, probably the newest eyewear brand on this list. Some of their styles, their Habu rimless, for me is the most stylish rimless frame in the world. Some of their newer releases like the Apollo, I've been loving wearing them. They are mega. Are they iconic? I mean, it's a small collection. If you look across the whole collection, there are no bad looking frames, to be fair. I'm trying not to be biased, because I do personally love mine. They're amazing styles, and they're original as well, without being too flamboyant. I think Yannis just hit the mark just right with that brand. Definitely iconic. Makita, overall boring and basic. They do make good frames, and some of their styles are really innovative, but only a few. And for the most part, yeah, I don't think they're a stylish brand. Same is true with IC Berlin. In fact, IC Berlin are behind the times and really looking dated at this point. I would put them in trash. I think if you want a minimalistic frame, no point in IC Berlin. Go for other brands like Makita, like Industrial that I mentioned. And speaking of minimalistic brands, let's take one of my favorites, Reykjavik Eyes. That's what I'm wearing today. So do I think I'm wearing the most stylish glasses? Absolutely not. These are the most comfortable glasses in the world. They're the most durable glasses in the world. And I do think my personal collaboration, which is the white gold series that you see me wearing, I do think they are maybe not top tier, but definitely elevated stylistically. If you look across the whole collection, they're not more than cool really, until you start customizing them with a tint like I've done. I think there's a lot of reasons to buy Reykjavik Eyes, but not really because they're super stylish. I think they're cool. J. Frey is my absolute favorite eyewear brand. It's their 40th anniversary this year. I'm hoping to collaborate with them on a frame of my own. For me, J. Frey is the most stylish eyewear brand in the world. There, I said it. Super original, super creative, super inventive in terms of everything, shapes, colors, materials. No other brand does all that the way that J. Frey does. But at the same time, most of their pieces are really wearable. And if you want something really crazy, you can find it with J. Frey. So yeah, for me, the most iconic eyewear brand stylistically. Porsche Design. I do think there's something cool about Porsche Design, but not enough to get them above basic. They're gonna stay in basic. Yeah, they don't do enough stylistically to get out of that tier. Chanel is absolute trash, absolute trash. Don't think I've ever seen a nice looking Chanel frame in my life. Thom Browne, on the other hand, breaks the mold. They are an awesome eyewear collection. Thom Browne are seriously stylish and seriously well made. Made in Japan. Lots of credit to Thom Browne. I think they're very cool pieces. Etnia Barcelona, you know, they've been doing well recently. There was a long period where they were stagnant. I would have put them in basic, if not trash. I think they've done enough recently to be in cool. I like some of their capsule collections, so I'm gonna give them credit. Matsuda, this is a brand that definitely, for me, borders between awesome and iconic. And I could make a case for both of those tiers. Some of their pieces are just amazing. But you know, I've never seen a Matsuda frame on someone and thought, that is peak. Always thinking, well, actually, would that not be a little bit better instead? So as beautiful as they are, I think they're, you know, close to the top of awesome. But if you want a Matsuda frame and their style resonates with you, 100% go for it. They're great frames, very beautiful. Jacques Marie Mage. I'm about to be controversial again. So Jacques Marie Mage make some of the best quality and definitely some of the most iconic eyewear frames ever made. And they've created this whole segment of eyewear enthusiasts who think JMM is like in a league of its own and no other eyewear can compare. That I think is a bit like in the watch community when people think Rolex is in a league of its own. You know, some people only wear Rolex watches. You're not really a watch collector if that's your philosophy, and I think you're really not an eyewear enthusiast if you think JMM is the be all and end all. And for what it's worth, like for me, again, it comes back to what I said about T. Henry. it's just a bit too much. I know some people love them, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I absolutely think you should buy JMM frames. Quality is great, they look very cool, but I don't think they're top tier in terms of style, just personally. I said it, I still think they're awesome. So I'm not being critical, but I don't think they're top tier. I think they just need to show a little more restraint. They're just a bit too bold and chunky and just a bit too ornate for me. Teo, on the other hand, if you want glasses that are really out there, Teo is, you know, they make some stunning pieces. They're almost like works of art. I still think JFRA is higher, but the margin is not enough for me to then drop Teo down a tier. Again, they could be between awesome and iconic. I think they deserve a place in the iconic tier. I think they've done enough creativity-wise to deserve that. Garrett Late are simply cool. Nothing more, nothing less. If you want a classic California vibe, Garrett Late nails that look. Barton Pereira, awesome, bordering on iconic. I think their styles are just a little bit too simplistic to maybe get into the iconic tier. It's not like they've done anything revolutionary. RLM, on the other hand, the most stylish eyewear brand there is. So I might have said something similar about JFRA. I love JFRA's aesthetic, but RLM is just a totally different aesthetic. Very much like old money, quintessentially elegant, classy, cool. I would run out of superlatives. I think RLM is the best fashion eyewear designer. Not that she's, you know, a fashion brand, she's her own brand. She's amazing. I've not seen a single RLM frame that isn't beautiful and cool. Top of the top. If you want glasses that just look good, go for an RLM. Frames like the New York. I think the New York is probably the most stylish frame in the world. Let's put it that way. Dita are tired and they've been overdone, and everyone who thinks they know anything about glasses buys Dita. And if you walk into any high-end opticians, they're all just Dita. It's been done too much, it's oversaturated. And once everyone starts wearing something, it's no longer cool. For me, Dita are basic stylistically. That is going to offend a lot of people. YSL, I like what they're doing. For a fashion brand, they're pretty cool. The branding is very minimalistic. Nothing more than cool, but I would recommend a YSL brand if you like your fashion brands. I think YSL get the balance just right. Chloe, same. Everything that I just said about YSL I think applies to Chloe. They're nice ladies' frames, not the best quality, and the quality is going down a little bit recently. They're not pushing any boundaries, but they did push boundaries like 5 years ago, so they're still pretty far ahead of most of the fashion brands. Cazal, as iconic as it gets. You know, Cazal made glasses cool in the first place. Their story is amazing. Carrie Zaloni, he made glasses part of hip hop culture. There's no bigger compliment than that. You know, people were wearing his frames when they don't even need prescription. Getting people to be enthusiastic about wearing glasses is half the battle. It speaks to the amazing quality of his designs. You know, they are not shy, and I think you do have to have a lot of personality to wear a Cazal frame, but if you've got the personality for it, it's one of the best glasses looks. And every glasses enthusiast really should have a Cazal frame somewhere in their collection. Chrome Hearts, I did rate them as one of the most stylish eyewear brands. How I'm feeling today, I think they're awesome. I don't think they're quite iconic, but I could be persuaded otherwise. Quite a badass look, really. And you know, if you're into the rings and the clothes, if you're into the Chrome Hearts drip, a Chrome Hearts frame is gonna satisfy you like nothing else. They are pretty special. You know what? No, I'm gonna put Chrome Hearts in iconic. Versace, so that like Medusa head, it's pretty ugly, right? And the frames are even uglier. Morel, same. You know, if you'd asked me this question 10 years ago, they were okay. But I've not seen a single cool Morel frame in what feels like forever. And I'm not a hater, I actually like Morel. I mean, we deal with Morel. I think they're decent quality, they're good value, but they're not inspiring, and yeah, they're definitely like, there's so many other brands you should choose from a stylistic perspective. Gotti are very innovative, very interesting frames. I think they're cool. They've got definitely their own vibe going on, and I give any brand credit for that. Not really anything like a Gotti frame, so I think they're cool. Let's get it out of the way. Ray-Ban. Let me like preface what I'm about to say. Ray-Ban deserve their place in eyewear history, absolutely. The Aviator, the Clubmaster, the Wayfarer, three of the most iconic frame looks of all time. Let's be honest though, in 2025, those looks are a bit tired. If you want to stand out from the crowd, you're not buying one of those frames because they've been done to death. What I said about Dita before applies 10 times over to Ray-Ban. And that is not to take anything away from those designs. They deserve absolutely all the credit for those very innovative frame styles. And those frame styles, those three that I mentioned, they are nothing less than cool. Even though they're overdone, I would still say they're cool. But if you look at the overall Ray-Ban collection, 99% of Ray-Ban frames are ugly as hell. They don't do anything. Like, you wear a Ray-Ban frame, it doesn't enhance your appearance or your aesthetic in any way whatsoever. It just makes you look like another number. And there's nothing less cool than that. You might disagree. I think Ray-Ban in 2025 are trash. Lakuri, very beautiful frames. I love Lionel's approach to eyewear. Well, it's kind of quiet luxury, but it's bordering on just full-on luxury. I like that. There is some restraint, but there's enough confidence to be really different. Some of their acetate pieces that they've released this year, wow. They're not iconic, but they are awesome. I think Le Curie, especially like the Leo, their signature frame, absolutely awesome. But some of their new releases, like, I just got the Alexis. That frame is beautiful. Yeah, definitely awesome. There's no way they should be any lower than that. Cutler & Gross. You know what? I've criticized Cutler & Gross before for being a little bit stale. I think they're cool enough to be awesome. You know, like for me, they're as cool as Jacques Marie Mage. They're not as good quality. They're not as special, but they're as cool. Everything I said about Morel is true for All Green. They're just boring. They would literally put me to sleep. Face-à-Face. I think Face-à-Face aesthetically are awesome. Some of the styles are beautiful, but are they actually cool? Yes, they're cool, but they're not more than that. Although their styles are like interesting and unique, I wouldn't wear anything from their current collection, I don't think. Eco Eyewear is one of my favorite brands to recommend. They've got a big catalog of styles, so there's something for everyone. Reasonable quality, they come with a magnetic sun clip. They're great for the environment as well, all made from recycled or bio-based materials. There are plenty of reasons to buy Eco Eyewear, but from a style perspective, unfortunately they are basic. Luca de Stale. So Luca de Stale is probably the most special eyewear brand in the world, in my opinion. The only brand making frames from natural materials like leather and even stone. And each Luca de Stale frame is handmade to order, so you create, each piece becomes one of a kind. You create something that is unique to you. And when you think about it, isn't there something like just truly special and stylish about having something that's uniquely yours? Does it actually get more stylish than that when you think about it? Because I was sure that I would put them in awesome, because none of their styles are like, wow. Style is not always about being wow, actually. Quiet luxury is understated but cool. And that's exactly how I would describe Luca de Stale. The materials, the colors, the uniqueness of them makes them special, and it's something that you will feel really, really special each time you wear. And for me, there's nothing cooler than that. So, iconic. Cartier. Cartier are not going to be happy with this, but I have to be careful what I say. I feel recently that Cartier is becoming slightly over-commercialized. That does not detract whatsoever from how iconic Cartier eyewear is. I'm a fan of Cartier, whether it's their watches, their jewelry, or their eyewear. They transcend the fashion industry. They're a jewelry brand. So although they're a brand, they're way more special than any other brand. Still, beautifully made, iconic designs. I don't like how prevalent they are now. There was a time when owning a Cartier frame was special, and that is diminishing, and I don't like how they're doing that. Their catalog is too big, trying to go too fashion orientated. But if you look at the core catalog, the Big C frame, the Santos de Cartier models, the buffalo horn and wood frames, their rimless styles in general, it actually doesn't get better than Cartier. So again, I thought I was going to demote them to awesome, and I can't bring myself to do it. I'm actually going to put them in iconic. I think they still merit that. Don't pursue market share, keep doing what you've always done. That will keep your brand iconic forever. We've ended up with Linda Faro as the last brand, and that's not intentional. They make absolutely beautiful frames. They're definitely more than cool, awesome. Very luxurious, but not too over the top. Very close aesthetically to RLM actually, and it's kind of harsh for them to be positioned lower, but I think they're just not quite as stylish. That's it, that's the glasses style tier list. Do you agree with my opinions? Do you agree with my list of iconic frames? Do you agree with my list of awesome frames? What about the cool options? Was I too harsh on the basic category? And am I gonna get sued for putting frames in the trash category? We're gonna find out, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you're subscribed and give this video a like if it was helpful to you, if it helped you to narrow down your next frame ideas. I'd also love to know in the comments. I'm sure there's about to be plenty of debates.